So if you would like to hear any lore, and I mean any lore whatsoever from the Fallout franchise, be it the show, the games, the one comic book we have, anything, the board game, check out the Ghoulman Entertainment Patreon from the $1 tier all the way up to the $10 tier, the Film Live for a Studio audience tier. Your voice can be heard every single week when it comes time to choose the lore, because only the Patreon can vote in the poll. And this week's lore, by way of the Ghoulman Entertainment Patreon, I bring to you Diamond City Blues, the quest, the side quest from Fallout 4. Now this is a quest that I didn't remember doing. I remember vaguely doing it. I don't remember the second part. It's technically a second quest, so I'm not going to be talking about it much. I will talk about the introduction to it a little bit, but I'm not going to talk about the second quest. It's essentially, it's a sequel, and not so much a part 2. If you want, check out the Patreon and suggest that quest, and maybe I'll do that one next. I love Diamond City. Diamond City is one of my favorite settlements in the entire franchise. I think it's just because I'm a baseball guy, and baseball has such a romanticism around it. It's not a coincidence why I wear a baseball hat, a cap, if you will, for the show. I love baseball. I love the romanticism of it, and I love what Fallout does. Modern Fallout, how it plays upon Americana, patriotism, jingoism, nihilism. It plays against all these things that the world kind of builds up to, especially greed, which is, probably the only thing America truly imports and exports. I love Diamond City because it's based off of Fenway Park in Boston. It's one of, if not the oldest baseball stadiums in America. Fenway Park was built in 1912 and is still there to this day. Yankee Stadium, the original one, was torn down, oh God, almost 20 years ago. And that was an old one too. I got to sit in those seats, and I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, it's an old stadium, and you get to see this piece of Americana. The only problem I really have with Diamond City is the layout's not great. I feel like I kind of know where everybody is in all the other major settlements. I kind of know where everybody is, keyword is kind of. Know where everybody is in Rivet City. I kind of know where everybody is in Novak. I kind of know where everybody is on the Strip. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of know where these things are. I don't really know what's going on a lot of the time with Diamond City. Like, I forget that things are there. I don't know if it's too spread out. I don't know if it's not built up upon each other enough, because Megaton has that feel to it where everything's just kind of stacked. A lot of people, I feel like, miss this, and it's the Colonial Tap House. When you enter Diamond City, you go down the steps and to the right, where you would go to see McDonough. There is another bar that's over there, and it's called the Colonial Tap House. And the first time you go in there, you get to see a tried and true American pastime: domestic abuse. You get to see this guy, Paul Pembroke. You see old Paul Pembroke when you enter the Colonial Tap House, and you see a woman who turns out to be his wife, Darcy Pembroke. They have a child together. And you also meet the barkeep, the owner, a man by the name of Henry Cook. Now, Henry Cook has a daughter named Colette, but we don't find out about her till much later, and she'll come up in just a little bit. You'll see that Paul Pembroke is fighting with his wife. He's like, "Can you please come home and watch your kid and stop drinking all gosh damn day?" And she's hooking up with Henry Cook. And Cook's like, "Oh, your wife wants to live a little, this and that, doo-doo-doo." And eventually, they throw hands, and you watch Paul get his shit rocked. That's putting it lightly. He does, like, depending on how he hits him, he can do a flip. I get all my lore off of Fallout.fandom.com, the Wikipedia, if you will. I love these games. I've played these games, but every now and again I like to reference them when I do the lore. And sometimes I'll watch a video just to kind of get me back in the swing of it, being like, "Oh, that's right, I did do this that one time." And when I watched the video that I watched, I'm sorry that I don't have the person to credit who I watched. They did a backflip, and it was very funny to me. He gets up, and he's like, "All right, I guess I'm leaving." Paul gets up, and he's like, "All right, I guess I'm leaving." And he looks at his wife, and he's like, "I'll be at home with our child." And then he skedaddles, and, you could have a conversation with Cook, and you could have a conversation with Pembroke's wife, and then you just kind of go back to Diamond City, and eventually Pembroke will approach you and be like, "Hey, you saw that. I got my ass handed to me. Could you go, maybe kill him?" or talk to him or something. I just want my wife back. Depending on how you talk to him, you can get caps out of it. I believe it's 80 caps. You can get an amount of caps out of him, and he'll be like, here's the down payment. Go rough him up. Go kill him. Go do what you have to do. And this is a diverging path for Fallout 4, which is an oddity. It's a rare thing that it's there. So there's one of 3 different ways. All of them pretty much end with you finding out about a chem deal, and we'll get there when we get there. You can confront Henry Cook with Paul. You can calm him down, or you could even get him a bit riled up. If Paul is calm, you'll be told of Cook's upcoming chem heist, where they're about to break into this deal. They're about to take the other side for all the caps. And you could become a part of it. If Cook is with you, he becomes part of it. And if not, he'll just walk in and shoot him. They'll get into an argument. There's a way that Cook kills Paul, and the sole survivor can find a note on Cook if he happens to die that says what the plan is, and you can go get what you need from this deal that you're about to go intercept. If you get the note, you can tell Paul about it. You don't have to tell Paul about it whatsoever. Either way, Darcy goes back with Paul. The second way is he can be shot to death. Paul can be shot to death by Cook. And he's just such a cuck. He's so pathetic. And then you can just back out of being on his side, and they can both die in this situation as well. If you back out of this deal, he's like, so much for you being on my side. And it's just like so pathetic. This dude's like, his wife's screwing around behind his back. He's taking care of their kid while she's getting drunk and sleeping with this dude. You're like, hey buddy, need a shoulder to cry on? Cool, let's go get your wife back. And you get the party like, hey, oh, what murder? I don't know what's going on. Or you can go and find Henry Cook by yourself, and if you pass a charisma check, he'll stop allowing Darcy Pembroke into the bar. If failed, he'll become hostile, and you can grab the note on his dead body and then optionally allow Paul Pembroke in on the scheme. If you want, he becomes a temporary companion where he's like, look, we're going to go hit this chem exchange that's a tad north of here, and we'll go figure it out. Once you're in on the deal, no matter how you handled the previous 3, you head north and you find Nelson, Latimer, and Trish, along with 3 unnamed triggermen. You'll be ambushed by the 5 of them. There's a bit of a glitch, if you will. If you have Dogmeat or if you have Kate, X2, and I believe Strong, you'll have to initiate conversation with them. If not, they'll just ambush you, and then you have to kind of take them on. So, come well equipped. Once you take them all out, Nelson you get rid of immediately. Trish is an essential NPC at this given time, and you'll tell her, like, don't get up. Or don't attack. And then she's like, oh, but what if I, a couple speech checks here and there. She's like, what if I let you in on this other deal, and there's the Morowski heist that she's trying to hit this other, like the chem lab where all these chems come from. She's trying to get out of this. You can be let in on the chem heist with her, but you can let her go, you can kill her. No matter what the outcome is, if she's still alive and Cook is still alive, he'll fight Trish. He'll go after Trish. And depending on how that ends, Cook will talk to you and or Paul if he's with you. Now, if Paul is there for the ambush and obviously alive, you have the option to split the take on the chems. You could do a 50-50 split, which he recommends. You can do a 70-30 split, and you can also do a 100-0 split. There's a couple different outcomes whether or not you take that. If you split it 50-50, the sole survivor will get Nelson's caps, and Paul will get 240 chems. If you split it 70-30, the sole survivor gets all 240 chems, and Paul will get 500 caps. And if you do it a 100-0 split, the sole survivor gets all 240 chems and all of Nelson's caps. If Nelson got away, you split it. There's 3 different crates of chems containing 30 each of Buff Out Jet, Psycho, and Mentads, and that gets split up depending on how you'd like to do it. If you do it 70-30, it's 4 crates of chems, 40 of them each. Paul only gets 2 crates. And if the sole survivor, you don't get any caps, so you get 240 chems, which is big money, especially if you have a high charisma. If you screw over Paul during this, he'll tell Colette and say this is why her father is dead. Now, her father leaves town. He's like, all right, I'm getting out. I'm done. He's like, I made my money. I did what I had to do. I tied up a bunch of loose ends. Let's get out of here. If Paul gets screwed over, he'll tell Henry Cook's daughter, Colette Cook, and she'll come back to Diamond City looking for the sole survivor, blaming him or her for the death of her father when he really just skipped out on town. If he's alive, he's like, I'm done. I'm out. These were my last loose ends. I'm getting out of here. She will attack you unless persuaded to tell her that Paul was behind it, and then she just goes and kills Paul. He's just sad. Every part of Paul is sad. So if Cook is killed in the tap house when you meet him originally, when you go there with Paul, if he's killed, Colette can come looking for them. Paul will get a little nervous about it. You could talk him down, but eventually she might show up and try to attack. She holds the sole survivor gunpoint again. If you persuade her, where she thinks nobody's the bad guy, she may show up in a random settlement as a random encounter and just kill you and just attack you, and then you got to take her down. That's a fun one, but, no loose ends. Now, if Paul is not told about the deal, he'll still treat the sole survivor as if he was had everything taken from him in the deal, and he will tell Colette as well. Now, at this point in time, the way the quest ends is you get to go to the 4-leaf clover fish packing plant, where you find out the Morawski family has a drug lab, a chem lab, and when you go there, it ends the quest, Diamond City Blues. From here, you can start the Morawski quest, but that's really it for Diamond City Blues. That's the quest line itself. All the loose ends are tied up. They might come back a little later to haunt you, but you've pretty much done it. Either a man is dead, 2 men are dead, some guy is no longer getting cucked, was probably going to get cucked later. It's a sad story. It's a great quest. I haven't played this since I first played the game, so I'm going to enjoy having all this footage behind me for you guys. Just some fun facts and some notes for you. If MacCready is with the sole survivor, when you start attacking Trish, MacCready may become hostile and leave. If your friendship, your relationship is not already maxed out with MacCready. If the chem deal's going on and you start shooting before talking to Cook, or you kill him afterwards, Curie will hate it and leave you. If you go there with Strong and you take all of the chems, he will actually be like, you should share that. If both Paul Pembroke and Henry Cook die before you get to the meeting spot, it will never trigger Colette to come find you. If Cook dies before you can convince him to stop letting Darcy come into the tap house, she just still goes there even though it's an empty tap house. That's Diamond City Blues. That's a quest from Fallout 4. It's a fun one. I hope the footage behind me has been decent for you. I can't wait to play it again. And I hope you've enjoyed that, because that is this week's lore.